Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Superfeeler podcast. My name is Lori, and this is a little announcement episode to let you know that I am taking my annual month off of podcasting, so happy August 1st. I will be back on September 5th with a new episode, kind of a start of a new season. You will hear from my three best friends of over 14 years-ish. I think it's even more than that. And they will be asking me questions, so putting me in the hot seat about my mental health journey, and also just a whole lot of shenanigans about friendship and us kind of riffing back and forth. So I hope you enjoy that episode. It'll be here September 5th, so don't forget to subscribe to the show so that you get that right away. And just a little reminder about a few other things. I also take off August for peer support. This just gives me a little bit of time to decompress and to take care of myself. And that is very important. And I do it every year. I've been doing podcasting for 5 years, and I have taken August off, I believe, every single year. So for those of you who have been listening to me for a long time, you'll know that that is common. But for the rest of you, just wanted to give you a quick heads up that I have not disappeared. I will be back on September 5th with a whole bunch of new episodes. You will also hear the rest of our symptoms series. So we have recorded a few more episodes around anger, suicide, emotional instability, or emotion like mood swings, intense mood swings. That episode is absolutely hysterical. So I highly recommend you checking that one out. I appreciate all of you so much for all of the love you're giving on the symptoms series so far. Getting to hang out with like 6 of my favorite human beings from all over the world and talking about our lived experience is just like a huge joy of mine, as you can probably tell by how much fun we have when we're recording episodes about things that really aren't all that fun in the grand scheme of things. The Superfeelers Club, which is the free virtual peer support that is drop-in and super accessible for people, is also taking a break for August. So our next Superfeelers Club session will be on Wednesday, September 10th. Usually we have sessions on Mondays, but this time around we're doing it on Wednesday to see if that helps with people who work Mondays. I know it sometimes feels a little bit unfair for you if you always work Monday evenings and you can't attend. So trying to switch things up a little bit to let you guys attend. Also, a little announcement on the Superfeelers Club. So if you don't know about the Superfeelers Club, you should come check it out. It's not diagnosis specific, so you don't need to have borderline personality disorder. Most people do, but it's really just for people who have strong emotions, struggle with intense emotions, and just really need a community of people to support them. Full disclosure, I would say like 80 to 90%, maybe sometimes 100% of people that do live with borderline personality disorder or believe that they have borderline personality disorder, but it's totally an inclusive space and you're definitely welcome to join, even if you are not diagnosed. So we understand that being diagnosed is a privilege and that is not something that's accessible for everyone. So we really just want to be as inclusive as possible for people who kind of get what life is when you live with intense emotions. If you are curious about the Superfeelers Club and have questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can find my contact information on my website, loriedmondson.com, or you can reach out to me on Instagram at the Superfeeler. All will be linked in the show notes below. And just a little bit of a rundown of the kind of format of the Superfeelers Club. So the sessions are usually an hour and a half, although I've gotten a lot of feedback recently. I've been trying to improve the groups as much as I can over time. And a lot of the feedback is, I need more time. I really want to stay for longer. I always get feedback that people want more sessions. So we went from essentially once a month to every 3 weeks, give or take. But we also have been trialing since July, 2-hour sessions instead of 1.5-hour sessions. So they seem to be going well so far. Had a blast the first one that we did in July, and we'll be back for September and October at least with 2-hour sessions. The format of the session is really chill. It starts out with kind of just some community guidelines of, how we are going to be together and how we're going to be respectful of each other. Those have been co-created with members of the group over the years. Then we do an opening circle. This is optional, so if you're not comfortable sharing, you can just always write into me to the chat and I can read it out for you. This is just usually our name, our pronouns, a land acknowledgement or where we're coming from, and the hope for participation of the day. If you don't want to have your camera on, that's okay too. For safety reasons, we do just require that we know you're a real human. So your name does have to match the name that you register with. And I will just double check with you in the chat to make sure you're real. But that's just a safety precaution. At that point, you can totally keep your camera off and you don't even have to come off mute. You can just use the chat or just observe. all good. We're super here for whatever you'd like. So the round table of introductions, I'll just call on everybody to do a quick, who they are, where they're coming from. Just helps us get to know each other. And then we move into celebrating our wins. This is my favorite part of the session and a lot of people's favorite part. It is an opportunity for people to recognize their own wins, celebrate each other's wins. They can be big wins. They can be small wins. We've had wins like, hey, I came to group today and I really did not want to. We've had wins like, I was able to set a boundary with my mom and I'm really proud of myself. We've also had wins like, I just got into law school. It can be the tiniest thing or the biggest thing. It could be like you brush your teeth today and that's a huge win for you. We're so stoked for you and we will always celebrate all of the wins that come forward. So we spend about half an hour, 45 minutes on that, depending on how many wins people have to share. Then we move into updates really quickly. This is just for people who have come to previous sessions and have something that they want to share with the rest of the group in terms of, hey, I applied for this job. I got the job. We all celebrate them. Or, hey, I applied for the job and I didn't get the job. How should I manage the feelings that are coming with that, for example? After updates, then we move into just kind of an open feedback session. So this is where people can share, people just raise their hands and share whatever they'd like to. So the group is really directed by the people in the room that day. Essentially, they share their piece, and we always, at the beginning of every session, mention that we all get a lot of unsolicited feedback every single day that we may not want, and people's advice that we may not want. So when people share, they can either be sharing to ask people for advice, ask people for like kind of, hey, I feel you. I've been in the same situation. I don't have any advice for you, but I just wanted to let you know you're not alone. Validation. Or you can just say like, I just need to rant for like 3 minutes and I don't want anybody to respond to me. I just need to say this out loud to a room full of people. Usually people will either let us know at the beginning of when they share, or I will just prompt them at the end of when they share so that we don't all jump in with solutions to problems that they don't want solved. Following that, we go into a closing circle. So we just do a little bit of a checkout. How you doing? Anything you kind of are bringing forward today? Again, it's most people participate, but totally optional, or you can put it in the chat. And then we sign out and we meet each other again in a couple weeks. So Super Feelers Club, free, virtual. You can sign up using the link in the show notes or DM me on Instagram or however you'd like to. Send me an email to ask any questions that you have. We would love to see you there. It is an incredible group of people. I just can't share enough about how much I love them. While you wait for that, though, while you wait for the new podcast episodes to start coming back out in September on Fridays, or you're waiting for the Super Feelers Club to start in early September, I also want to remind you that I do have a Patreon page. I totally understand that financial support is difficult. I also totally understand that, especially in this current economy, financial support is very, very difficult. And I want to make all of my services as accessible as humanly possible to as many people as possible. With that said, there are a lot of free things on Patreon that you can sign up for. So you can just sign up for a membership. It's just called like a free membership. You never get charged for anything. You don't need a credit card, any of that. The only reason that I have some of this stuff where you need to be a member as opposed to just seeing it for free is because I want to know who's looking at my stuff, because the stuff I post on Patreon is way more personal than the stuff that I post on my regular social media and on the podcast. So I just need to know if a person that I'm talking about in detail is reading all of my posts. And so I do like to have it behind that kind of like protection for myself, just so that I kind of have an idea of who's potentially reading or listening to bonus episodes or journals or whatever it is. But there's tons of free resources, handouts, bonus content, all sorts of stuff that you'll be able to find on patreon.com/superfeeler under the free tier. If you are able to contribute financially, I super appreciate that. Of course, I hate, I don't know, it feels like I'm begging for money. I do this for free on purpose. I love what I do, and I'm very blessed to have a job that can allow me to, pay some of the bills. But running podcasts and peer support is definitely not free. There is monthly costs that I accrue every year, and it is very helpful to have any sort of donation. The donation amounts start at $5 a month. You get a bunch of bonus content up to $20 a month or whatever you can donate. So anything you can donate, even if it's $1 a month, I believe you can still do that on Patreon. It helps more than you know, and it also, keeps this kind of content going for free. And it keeps the supports going for free as well. If you are interested in signing up to Patreon, just a little bit of a, heads up of what you might find there. So there are a bunch of resources. There are 22 bonus episodes. Some of these are like an hour or two long. So it's a lot of content that you are missing. This summer, in terms of bonus episodes, there will be episodes coming out throughout the summer. We have a continuation of a series that I'm doing with my dad, aka Dad Dean. And him and I are going through Marsha Linehan's book called Building a Life Worth Living. That is her memoir. Marsha Linehan is the creator of dialectic behavior therapy, the therapy that changed my life, saved my life, kept me out of jail, all of the things. And him and I are going through her memoir, discussing how, the similarities between our lives and how impactful it has been to not only learn dialectical behavior therapy, but also to understand that a person with lived experience has also created the therapy. So him and I go through that book in quite a bit of detail. So if you're not a reader, no worries. We go through it in, I think, enough detail that you don't need to actually read the book, but you totally can if you want to. There's also going to be a bonus episode about the world's favorite topic right now, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, those GLP-1 drugs, and my thoughts on those. I'm speaking to Dr. Mary Pines, who is a Cambridge-trained biomedical scientist and longevity consultant. So we're talking about those drugs and what they mean, and it'll be really interesting, and it's a really vulnerable episode. So I hope you enjoy it. That episode is quite long as well. It's an hour. So definitely getting full-length episodes on Patreon throughout the summer. And there's, again, 22 episodes that you are potentially missing if you are not on Patreon at various tiers. So check that out. There's also over 110 of my own personal journals. So I post these in a way, and these are at various tiers. There's lots that are available for free as well. But I post these so that you can kind of understand the inner workings of my brain on a day-to-day basis, somewhat day-to-day basis. Some of them are quite unhinged, maybe, shall I say. I know that, my whole life I've been told like, oh, you present so well, like you don't present like you have borderline, blah, 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 blah. And I think that might be the case when I'm sharing on the podcast, or I'm doing public speaking, or I'm speaking in a professional context. But there's also the side of my brain that's my inner monologue. And my inner monologue, despite lots of DBT, is still quite volatile, perhaps is a good word for it. So you see a lot of my, I want to go like unhinged, but really raw, honest thoughts about life and my day-to-day. And I think it's an interesting read. I've had a lot of good feedback from people about how they're really validated to see that like their inner monologue is not just their own fucked up inner monologue. It also can be helpful for others to understand that we all have really messed up inner monologues. So anyways, just some thoughts there. You also get video episodes of all the episodes that are already out, or most of the episodes. Of course, I always make sure that the people who I'm recording with are giving me their consent. That is my most important thing. And really looking forward to seeing you all in September, either through the podcast, through socials, or at the Super Feelers Club on September 10th. All of the information for what I shared is below. The other way that you can support for free, there's a bunch of ways to support for free. Any support that you have is great. I feel so awkward always talking about how to support the show, but it does make a huge difference. Some of the main things that you can do is write a written review on Apple Podcasts. You can rate the podcast on Spotify, Apple, like it on YouTube, whatever you want to do. Any of those super help, and just sharing it with your friends makes a big difference as well. Friends, family, whoever. I know we have a number of people who listen to it with their partners. They find it really helpful, which I love. So keep that in mind. If you are wondering who I could share this with, you could share it with anybody, but you could even listen to it with family, friends that you really want to have understand a little bit better about yourself. With that, I'm going to end this little announcement episode. Actually, no, I'm going to say one more thing. I am always here if you want to share your story, and I'm always happy to hear varieties of opinions and stories. So if you are interested in sharing your story on the podcast, or just want to reach out via DM, please do. Always happy to chat. I am not the best at answering quickly, but I always answer in a way that I think is really personal, and that's why it takes me so long. I really want to put thought into my responses. So feel free to reach out. You can find most everything I talked about here on my website, www.laurieedmondson.com, or on Patreon, patreon.com/superfeeler. And I will see you all in September. Have a wonderful August, my friends.